My name's Carson. Welcome back to Thrifty Garage. In today's video, we're going to be continuing our shipping container shop right here. We're going to be installing the awning. Here's the crate for the 20 by 20 cover or awning. This is a 6.5 foot tall awning for a 20 foot shipping container. Covermore also has these awnings for 40 foot containers, but we opted for a 20 footer here. They can be found on eBay for about $1,850 and shipping is about $400 or $500. So the cost of this is about $2,250. Cost of our two containers here was about $6,500, maybe $7,000 if you get them brought in separately, but we got them to combine shipments, so we were able to build this shop for under $10,000. And in today's video, we'll be showing you how to put this together. It's been obviously really easy so far, really easy step by step, so we'll go ahead and start from the beginning and get to where we're at now. So step one is to offload this. We used our skid steer, which worked out perfect. I would definitely recommend having something to lift that off. I don't know how heavy it is, but I think 4 or 5 guys, it's gonna be a workout. So definitely want a skid steer or forklift, something like that. So we took this off, opened up these bands, and we got this with the, on the top here also had the back wall, and inside had the awning cover. And this is the PVC, 15 ounce PVC cover, which is supposed to last much longer than other options on the market. But we opened this up, it's got a set of instructions in here, it's got a bunch of different parts. We laid them out, made sure we had everything, did an inventory on everything looked great. Really easy to unpackage, no issues there. Step one in the instructions says to square and install and level the containers. We've got 2 separate videos talking about the installation, leveling, and also the drainage system that went into place in order to place these containers. As you can see on this container over here, we've got it built up on these large concrete blocks. So it's elevated off the ground here. And then this one is just placed on some smaller blocks, but everything is plumb and square and parallel with each other. Ended up being 6,000 millimeters in between these 2 containers, which comes out to be, I believe, 19 foot, like 8 and some change inches. It's like 8 1/4, 8 1/8 inches, something like that. Do your own math. But 6,000 meters in between these 2 containers. And got those set up. And then next step was putting together our structure up here. Currently we've got 2 methods of getting on the containers. We've been climbing up the Mini-X to get up there, as well as the better option, we'll be using a ladder. Step one is to install these brackets right here. This one is labeled number 7. We've got 5, 6, 6, and 7. They go across the length. Just set those in place, and then these end pieces you can insert in here, and it's got this bracket that drops into place, and then it turns 90 degrees, and that's what locks it into place. We just loosely installed everything, and then once all of the structure was put together loosely, and then we went through and tightened down all the bolts. How this corner pin locks into place is by lifting up on this plate and pushing it away from our bracket down here, which is pulling that tight into that locking cube right here. Next down the rung, we've got this bracket right here that locks on the side of this. I don't know if these have a specific spacing, but not every single one of these gaps right here lines up perfectly. This one works out perfect, but some of these end up landing on top of a rib. So just look at that as you're installing those. And then we just sandwich this in here, bolted that on there, bolted this on there. We're good to go. We've got these brackets right here that bolt through and hold these 4 separate pieces along the sides here together. So once we got all those lower ones in place and loosely secured, then we worked on installing these vertical uprights. And lastly, to get us to this point, we came through and installed these crossbars. We also have crossbars that go halfway up to the middle, in the middle, and then one on the other side. So we have several more to put in across there. They also recommended using duct tape here to protect these seams. So we've gone through and taped all of these seams to protect them from catching the tarp as we pull that over. We will probably also tape over these bolts. All of these carriage bolts are pretty protected. We do still need to come back through here and bolt through these brackets right here, but that's where we're at currently. So far, this has been a very easy install. Having the right equipment makes a big difference. I think the hardest part about this whole job is just how high up off the ground it is. Talking to the guy that dropped off the awning here, he said that they actually did one where they built the whole thing on the ground and then had several guys lift it up on top of the structure. So that might be easier than having to get up and down ladders, trying to bring parts back and forth. So that's been the hardest part, but really the whole kit has gone together super quick and easy. When you do stuff like this, you have the option of it going really good or really bad, and I would say this is one of those kits where it's just gone together flawlessly. We'll see how easy it is to pull over the tarp. As you can see here, we got our whole back wall installed. One thing I'm not entirely happy about is it's kind of scrunched up top there and it's taut down here. So side to side we're good, we've got good tension, but for whatever reason we're kind of buckled up top. So I'm gonna actually uncoil this and I'm gonna have to unwind it all the way up to about there. And I think we're messed up on one loop there, and I think we're messed up on one loop on the other side as well. So we're gonna do one side at a time, fix this side, see if I can get the side to kind of drop down a couple inches. Looks like having about a 2-inch gap seems to be about perfect. One tip on putting this rope through. This rope started to fray on us, so using a piece of duct tape has worked pretty well, giving us something to send through those eyelets. Overall, still really pleased with the installation process of this product. A couple of things I can't condone, simply the way we did it, is the use of a skid steer bucket to get us up high enough. There's probably better tools for that, as well as they said not to install this on a windy day. Unfortunately, when we opened up this, not windy, but as we started installing this, it became very windy. So this was a very difficult install. We ended up deciding not to install the roof today because of how windy it was. But here's what we're looking at right now. Is this piece right here is going under, so I'm gonna take this over top. I think that'll make a big difference in how this sets in here. Okay, we got one side done. This half's looking a lot better. We are pulling really tight down to here because this strap now needs to be moved down lower. But once we move that down, and once we get that other side dropped the same way, I think we'll be looking really good. Okay, what do you think? I say that's much, much better. I am happy with that. Move this bottom down, get the top canopy put on, and that'll be a wrap on this project. Finally onto the top cover of this portion of this project. We did install this on upside down, so we ended up having to flip that over. Wasn't a huge deal, we just pulled the back to the front and the front to the back instead of having to pull it all the way off again. It was a little bit of work to pull this up and over these beams, so we didn't want to have to redo that. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to do this. We put the fabric down first and then tied off the front and back ends, followed up with the rails on each side, and then we again cinched everything up and tightened everything down. The eyelets for the rope need to be on the bottom side of the cover, and the Covermore logo is facing inside. And then same as the end wall, these ropes pull these tight towards the end walls, and then it's got another loop end for the rope that allows it to wrap around the end wall and makes for a nice looking finish. All in all, I think this is about a one-day project for 2 to 4 guys. Keep in mind it needs to be a non-windy day. I think having the wind would make this extremely more difficult. It certainly did for the end wall. We didn't have very much wind on the roof structure. I think we had about 5 to 6 mile an hour wind, and even then it was grabbing our tarp a little bit occasionally. So it's about a one-day project. If you take your time, it might be a 2-day project, and that does not include setting containers. As you can see here, we largely use the skid steer to lift man up and down. Again, I would not advise that. I don't think that's the safest method. It's the method we used to get the job done, working with what we had, but there are safer tools to accomplish the same task.